NBA is back, but for today, let's preview the games that will kick off the new season. The Sixers against the Celtics and the Lakers against the Warriors. And joining us for an all-out discussion is who else but our sports writer? Well, he is in Nebraska. I want to claim him our sports writer. Josh Planos joining us all the way from Nebraska, 9 p.m. there right now. Good evening to you, buddy.
Thanks so much for having me, Andre. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we're already, well, I personally already claiming you to be Sports Desk's NBA informant. Josh, let's start with the C's. Let's start in the East. 2 games on opening day. Let's start in the East Coast. The Celtics will take on the Sixers at TD Garden in the first game. That will be 7:30 a.m. Philippine time. The Celtics went all the way to the finals, eventually losing to Golden State last season, 4 games to 2. The Sixers, they were number 4 in the playoffs. They lost to Miami in the second round, 4 games to 2. What should we expect from Boston and Philadelphia on opening day?
Well, I think it's a great matchup for one. You know, the Boston Celtics are still the favorite to come out of the East, in my opinion. Ime Udoka, you know, he had a huge impact on the team, having one of the biggest midseason turnarounds in NBA history on its path to that first finals appearance in 12 years. But even losing him still leaves behind a stacked roster. So I think Boston has top to bottom the best roster in the East. I expect them to contend with or without Ime. Philly is an interesting question, right? Because they're clearly one of the 4 best teams in the East with a ceiling that's either at least championship level or just below championship level. And it really just kind of depends on what they get out of James Harden, in my opinion. Joel Embiid's going to be one of the 5 best players in the league. But if Harden doesn't play like a top 15 player, which he didn't last season, I don't think that this team gets out of the East. So a lot of it is riding on Harden. And I think that this is make or break time for him.
Well, you did mention James Harden. He is taking a huge pay cut this season, and it allowed the Sixers to sign players like P.J. Tucker, who was also his teammate back in Houston. Daniel House, also his teammate, former teammate in Houston. How will these new additions fit in with Joel Embiid, with James Harden, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, whom I believe is already their go-to point guard, along with Embiid, Harden, and Harris. So if you take a look at their additions, what difference will those players make? And as you said, and I agree with you totally, that's why we have you talk about the NBA. James Harden has to be that James Harden of Houston, in my opinion, if they want to go all the way.
Yeah, I think that these new guys are going to be fantastic fits, truly. I mean, the type of players that could help swing a playoff series are that significant. They might not have the star appeal, right, that adding an all-star, will have on a team. But getting, a player like P.J. Tucker is a huge addition because it not only helps Philly, but it directly harms the Miami Heat, who eliminated Philly from the playoffs last season. And Embiid it said it, in the offseason. He's never played with someone like Tucker, who's, a show-stopping defender, clearly knows his role on offense, doesn't require too much, effort in terms of getting him the ball. I think it's a fantastic fit. Daniel House is a capable 3-point shooter. He's got length along the perimeter. So I think he should be a really good fit with that roster. I think Philly knocked out the offseason, if we're talking about, the comprehensive package that they put together with, getting Harden to take that pay cut and being able to add these new pieces with that additional salary. So I think that this is a great team and they're going to contend.
Well, let's go to the Celtics. Of course, they also added some players. Blake Griffin signed with them. They have Danilo Gallinari, Malcolm Brogdon. Well, you did mention as well Ime Udoka. He's going to be, for me, really huge because he's a brilliant basketball mind, and he was really one of those big reasons why the Celtics, with all their adjustments, with all their defensive schemes, all the plays, the sets that they ran last season, that's why they made it all the way to the finals. Of course, Tatum's still there, Jaylen Brown's still there, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, the 2 Williams, whom I believe a healthy Robert Williams will make a big difference defensively as well for Boston. But with Ime Udoka out, suspended for the entire season following that scandal, how can Boston thrive without a man, a brilliant basketball mind like Ime Udoka calling the shots for them?
Yeah, I mean, coaching matters, right,
For
Andre? I
sure,
mean,
yeah, definitely.
you talk about this all the time, right? If you've got a new guy who's never done it at this level, and I know that you could have said the same thing about Udoka last season, but it's very atypical for someone to come in and in year one knock it out of the park the way he did. It's not the expectation. It is an outlier. And it's a cloud of controversy, right, that follows this team
Hmm.
that this team has to weather. It's not something that is simple to kind of shrug off. This is something that will follow this team. They'll be asked about it by the media, each and every week. It's going to be something that lingers. I do think that those additional pieces that you mentioned, the Blake Griffins, the Malcolm Brogdons in particular, are huge signings, right? I mean, we talked last season about really the one issue that Boston had was that they didn't have somebody who could facilitate, who could run the show like a true point guard. Marcus Smart kind of got shoehorned into that role, but Brogdon, if he's healthy, this is the rookie of the year, right? This is a
Yeah.
guy who
Oh,
is
yeah.
a game changing type of player.
Well, who are you picking? After hearing everything, all things considered, everything that you said, in opening day at TD Garden, Boston or Philly?
I like Boston. I think the talent wins out. I think it'll take a little bit for them to get their chemistry under a new coach and a new scheme, but I just think that they have the more talented roster.
I agree. And they have Jason Tatum. He has to, level up his play. I think he has to be one of those top 5 players of the season if he wants to win a title again for Boston. Okay, let's go to the Wild Wild West. Just looking at the West, man, it's really every season. It's like we always talk about how stacked the West is. Well, the Warriors will open their title defense against the LA Lakers. Just coming off that drama with the Warriors, Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, et cetera, et cetera. JP, by the way, just signed a multi-year contract with the team. He definitely got the bag that him and Andrew Wiggins were talking about after winning the title last season and after that fight with a lot of moolah, man. Well, 140 million for 4 years. Well, Jordan Poole said that Draymond apologized to him, and the goal now, in his own words, to win a championship and keep hanging banners. Do you think all is well? Like realistically, what do you hear from there? Like within the Warriors camp, is it all butterflies now with the Warriors locker room? What do you think?
Well, I think it's telling that Steve Kerr, who was famously punched in the face by Michael Jordan back in the day, called the fight the biggest crisis that his team has had since he took over as coach.
Yep.
Recall that Kerr has handled all kinds of Draymond adversity to this point. He weathered the Kevin Durant saga, the Klay Thompson season-ending injuries, the Andrew Bogut frustrations. He's handled a lot since he got there, and he doesn't speak out of pocket very often. So to say, that there is real dysfunction in the locker room right now, it means that there are major issues, right? And trust is really hard to come by, and it's also essential for a team to thrive. So regardless of talent on the roster, regardless of Steph Curry being, depending on how you measure it, probably the best player in the NBA, it sounds like the Warriors have a really difficult road ahead of them in terms of establishing that chemistry, which every coach who's ever won a championship will attest is absolutely imperative if you want to compete at the highest level.
Well, let's talk about the Lakers. How about LeBron and the purple and gold? 33 and 49 last season. Number 11 didn't even make the play-in. Of course, you still have LBJ. You still have Anthony Davis. They have a new coach in tow, and Darvin Ham. They have some new additional pieces there. Lonnie Walker IV. Kendrick Nunn expected to be healthy this season. How do you see Lakers turning things around for this season? Are you optimistic that they'll even make it to the play-in?
I think they'll make the play-in.
Okay.
I've learned time and time again to not bet against LeBron James throughout my life, and I know that last season was probably the one time to do it. But certainly this team is loaded, right? I mean, I think the roster still has some holes, but anytime you have LeBron and Anthony Davis, if they can stay healthy on the same court, this team is playoff capable. I'm not sure that they're championship capable, but they are playoff capable, and I have a really hard time thinking that LeBron would miss the postseason in consecutive years, given that he knows that his time in the league is dwindling, right? The time to strike if you want to win more championships is right now. And I think he's going to get them at least into the playoffs, but still some holes, still some things to iron out. Like you and I had mentioned, with Russell Westbrook potentially coming off the bench now, we'll see how that goes. There are a lot of questions that need to be answered, but I do think that this team gets into the playoffs.
Let's see also if Russell Westbrook will finish the whole season in a purple and gold uniform, maybe in a different uniform, who knows. Lakers or Warriors on opening day? I don't know why I even asked you that question. At Chase Center.
I like Warriors big. I think that this is a 20-point win. I think that Golden State is really looking to quiet a lot of doubters and to kind of put this story in the rear view. And the quickest way to do that is to come out with fire in the season opener.
I'm just hoping to get back at you and let the Lakers win. Hopefully LeBron game-winning overtime, and then you'll never hear the end of it from me. Josh, stay where you are.
Yep.
Our NBA discussion. Our all-out NBA discussion with sports writer Josh Planos will continue after a really quick break. Stay tuned to Sports Desk only here on CNN Philippines. We'll be right back. Thank you for tuning in. Only here at Sports Desk on CNN Philippines, and we're having an all-out preview of the new NBA season with sports writer Josh Planos joining us live from Nebraska in the U.S. Josh, let's talk about the rookies. You have top draft pick Paolo Banchero. Chet Holmgren will be missing out the whole season due to injury. And then, they have other rookies also looking good. Jaden Ivey, Jabari Smith. Who are you looking forward to making an impact? Is it Banchero? Is it Ivey, Jabari? Who do you think will make that huge impact for their team?
Well, I think Paolo is certainly going to be, in my opinion, the rookie of the year. I think he's going to have all the opportunity in the world to put up the stat line that really gets you that award. Really, I mean, so long as you're averaging, at least 15 points a game, you're right there in the running. And right now, I know that that they have some good pieces there, but he's really going to be allowed to come in and play make and do what needs to be done to get that coveted award. I think the more exciting story is, and I'm glad you mentioned it, is Jaden Ivey. I think that backcourt with Detroit is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be so much fun to see. It's going to be electricity, and it's going to really inject a lot of enthusiasm into that city that they haven't had in a long, long time.
Oh, yeah. That backcourt of Cunningham and Ivey, it's going to be exciting for sure. Okay, before I let you go, let's talk, of course, our very own Kai Sotto. Unfortunately, he wasn't drafted in the recently concluded NBA draft, but he went up against an NBA team when he played for the Adelaide 36ers. He signed another year with the team in the NBL. And then he went up against the Suns, he went up against the Thunder. Your assessment on Kai's performance against NBA teams, and we're still hoping, that whole nation's still hoping Kai can make it to the NBA.
I thought he looked great. I mean, obviously they were able to beat Phoenix, and that's a phenomenal win for not just him and his teammates, but for international basketball. It shows how far the sport has come. The question is always going to be physique and build, right? I mean, this is a grown man's sport in the NBA. There are players who dominate in college here who basically are not taken because they need to put on 20, 30 pounds, or they're drafted and then basically stashed for 12 to 24 months so they can basically work out full time. It's that brutal on your body, and I think that's going to be something that he certainly needs to improve upon. It's very tough being that height, right, and being able to withstand the kind of punishment that you do in the NBA. But the skill set is there. Certainly, you could improve the jump shot, you can improve the handle, but really the physique is going to be the thing that I think gets him over the top.
Yeah.
And what's great about basketball is there's always room for someone of that height, and I do think that he will get his moment eventually.
Hopefully. I'm still crossing my fingers, and hopefully, he gets to improve. And like what you said, everything you said, bulk up his body and built for the NBA. As always, Josh, pleasure having you on the show. And I always enjoy talking to you about the NBA. Thanks, buddy. We'll be speaking to you again soon. It's a long season. Stay safe there in Nebraska. Glad to have you back on the show. Again, that was sports writer Josh Planos, looking sharp as always, joining us live from Nebraska in the U.S. From the